It's been a while. To be more precise, it's been, I think, 9 or 10 days since I spoke to you about processes and how to use process management as one of the management tools later on to get into efficient processes. I think that we ended up with the conclusion. That processes contribute to a result, being one of the enablers. Good leadership is one, a good product is one, having the best personnel is one, having good processes is also one. And we also concluded that efficient processes contribute to a better result, and that's why process management is important. So monitoring, looking at your organizational processes, trying to improve them over and over again is helping you to get a better result. Could I ask for more attention, please? Right, that's the spirit that I would like to see in my group. All right, so we came to the conclusion that before you could more or less be part of process management, you need to have skills, you need to have tools, knowing about tools, having knowledge about techniques and stuff like that, in order to visualize. That's basically what my, let's say, part of this lecture is to tell you that visualizing processes, that's where it starts when you have to improve your company process. Looking at what are people doing, at what time, what is the order in these activities, which is good, which is bad, how can I take activities out and through doing that, making it more effective. Right. We ended up, I think, or started and ended up with flowchart method. Today, I'm going to introduce to you the IDEF method. Both are being used throughout companies, very often next to each other, and also very often instead of each other. So we need to be aware of both possibilities. Coming back to the flowchart, this is the actual idea about a flowchart. As you remember, you studied the lecture document, the symbol document. A flowchart starts at the top, ends at the bottom, has an input, has an output, and has an activity run in the middle. And it uses symbols. Those symbols have a meaning. You use a certain symbol in order to make things more clear. Here we have a decision situation. So this one is being used for decisions. This one is just an action, repair the lamp. It's just an activity. And these ones, start and end, are symbols to, more or less, define the beginning and the ending of the process. I let you get acquainted with the flowchart by looking at the registered process in our school. So what we came up with is that there is a situation where we register marks, your exam marks, all 10s, 9s and 8s, stuff like that, which is what I expect of ITI students. High average, at least 7.5, so you can go on exchange, right? But 6s will do also. Then things happen, and another activity is that although I register the marks, I also need to verify them. Here we have a symbol. I'm just getting back to what I already told you. Here we have a symbol, mark list, where a list of marks is put into the computer program by me using a keyboard. So this symbol stands for using a keyboard. This symbol is a paper sheet. It comes from the computer. It's being printed I get it from the employees from Osiris, and I need to sign it. So I get that one, mark list at the top, I sign it, and I give it back to them, and they are going to verify it. This symbol stands for a digital file, or digital file, I can say. It stands for a digital file in a database. So the marks I put in are being registered in the computer in a file. That is this symbol. They use, to verify marks, they use by signed list, the already registered marks, check them out whether there's been a mistake or not being made, and then after that they're being offered to you as students as being verified and marked, which you can count on for your average, right? And then the process starts. What we see is input area, activity area should be activity, and output area. There's a lot of symbols being used. I expect you to check out the document and ask me all kinds of questions about the described symbols, because you're going to need them, not only this afternoon, but also during your exam. This afternoon we get together in the computer room, and I'm going to teach you also, you're going to learn how to use Microsoft Visio in order to do such a task. It's not about learning how to use Visio, but it's about how to draw a flowchart. That's the ultimate goal we have. And by using, that's the nice thing about Visio, by using Microsoft Visio, you have to think, by looking at the symbols, which one should I take for this or that? So that is the purpose of this afternoon. All right, this was flowcharting. I think you remember. Now a different technique. And for now, something completely different, IDEF. IDEF stands for Integrated Definition Modeling Technique, also known as IDEF. I'd rather use the abbreviation IDEF. Some of the students find IDEF more easy than others. Others think, well, I would like to use flowchart. For the exam, there is no either this or that. I just want to be clear about that. I'll tell you which one you should use, so you should be able to use both of them. Let's be honest, you should be able to use both. All right, the details on IDEF. Basically, IDEF technique only uses one symbol, the rectangle here. And the rectangle is being used to identify the process. So what you write instead of process is booking, or verifying marks, or registering marks. So you give a detail in the rectangle expressing what kind of process it is. Right? Only one. However, what we see is that around this rectangle, around this process symbol, we actually have 4 areas that serve certain functions. Like flowcharting, to the left we put the input that is needed to get the process started and going on. To the left we have the output, which is in fact the product that is being delivered by the process. Input, output. No difference with flowchart. However, there is a difference in the control area and in the mechanism means area. On top of the process, we let come in, using this arrow, controls. Question is, what are controls? Well, I've stated it here. Controls guide or regulate the activity. So if something is being used in a process, telling people how to act in a certain way, that is being looked at as a control. Rules. specifications, notifications, stuff like that, that tell people how to act, how to fulfill an activity, is being looked upon as a control. It controls the way the process is being done. Right? You could have a specification, for instance, on buying products. If there is a document telling you that you can only buy products when they are under a certain, let's say, volume level, that is going to be considered as a control. It tells you when you may order new products. What about mechanism and means? I want to go back one sheet, if you let me. 2 sheets. I'm talking about mechanism or means. Here you see a symbol representing the fact that the marks are being filed in a computer file. What kind of means will we use in this process, you think that? Oh, this was a question. What do you think is being used in this process? A computer, right. So here we see, it's a kind of open door, that if a computer file is being used, the means in this process is a computer. All right, let's go forward 2 sheets, and here we go. So if we use computers, we are putting them down here, telling that a computer program, application, software is being used for that specific process purpose. Right? Okay. I'm going back again to the flowchart in order to understand the difference between this one and flowcharting. How many, let's say, sub-processes do I see here? 3, 2, 1. Again, class, this was a question. How many? Look at the activities. How many? Who's in favor of 4? Who's in favor of 3? 2? The majority. I go for the majority. 2. You only see registering and verifying. 2 activities, 2 sub-processes. The whole thing can be considered as one big process, registering marks. But basically, registering marks can be defined as 2 sub-processes, the actual registering and verifying of the marks. Right? Okay, let's go back again. Unfortunately, IDEF here is not showing the possibility to put in 2 different, each other following processes. Because we only see one process. Well, still, IDEF gives us the possibility to detail them a bit more in a different way. Okay. This you recognize. This is what I wrote down, process. One big process. Not concerned here on this level, activity 0, general level, not concerned about all those different activities that can be found in that big process. However, when we zoom in, what we see actually is that, and this is just an example, is that this process here, defined by me as activity 0, could also be drawn as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4 sub-activities in it. It is still the same, as you can see here. A0, you can still see that it's that specific one big process, but now I have detailed it, showing you in the same, well, paper sheet, basically, sub-process 1, 2, 3, 4. What I also see is that there is a connection between the 4 sub-processes. What you see, try to follow me. If you don't understand, I will try to explain it differently. What you see is that sub-process 1 has a relation with sub-process 2, or activity 2, because activity 2 gets something from 1. Here we have output, see that? Output from activity 1 that at the same time is going to be input for 2. Activity 2 delivers output for 3, but at the same time it's input for 3. Output becomes input. Here we have the connections between the activities. The importance of this one is the following. Suppose that something goes wrong in activity 2, you cannot judge per se that people involved in activity 2 do it wrong. Right? It might be coming in from 1, so if the output of 1 used by them as input is wrong, yeah, sure, their output will be wrong also. So by looking at the relationship between the different various activities, you might trace back through this path. It's a kind of path down, path up, where a certain error has started. All right. This one here is this one. Will you understand that? If not, please tell me that you don't understand that. So this input here, I here, is this input here. This output here is this one. All the other inputs, outputs, I don't see because it's all aggregated in that one process. Only when I zoom in, I can see that there is internal input and output. Internal output and input. Okay. Following that, Camilla.
What does it mean then that the controls from 1 to 2 are connected?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to explain next. This one, this control, well, apparently that control is input and the control for all the 3, 4 sub-activities as well. So it's a guideline, it is a rule, it is a specification that is applicable in all 4 activities. If it were only applicable and meant for this one here, we would see it here, but there would only be on top of this process, there would only be one arrow coming in. This one wouldn't be there, this one wouldn't be there, this one wouldn't be there. Get that? Same goes with the means. This mean here is used here. Now I have a difference. Apparently, let's think that this is a computer. Apparently this computer, this computer is only used, a software program, whatever, is only used in 1 and 2 and not in 3 and 4. So 3 and 4 are activities where no computer is being used or no computer program is being used. You get that? So the only thing we do is we blow up, we zoom in, we enlarge. Well, the picture here, what we see is the various only one other thing I have to explain, I think, that is that what you see here is A0. I wrote down 100 node. The node explains at what level I am looking at the process. Here I'm looking at, let's say, activity 0, which contains 4 sub-activities. Here I do write the title of the activity, registering marks. Here in this one, I put down the version. Version number 1 means basically this is my first drawing. And if I change things in a next drawing, it still would be A0, it still would be registering marks, but the version would be number 2. So all versions I draw will be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, as many as I make. What I can do now, wish I were entitled to write on this screen here, the silver screen. What I can do now is I can zoom in on one. So there could be another drawing underneath it that would look into this sub-activity 1, and perhaps, I'm not sure because it's just what I make up now, perhaps this 1 would also consist of 4 sub-processes again. That would be possible. So the next drawing would be something like this again, with 4 or 3 or whatever sub-processes. However, the node then would not be A0, but would be A1. And the first activity in 1 would be 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4. So what you do is you continue your numbering only on a lower level. You get that? Class, you get that? Man, you're smart after one break week. Huh? Okay. From flowchart to diagram. I would like to see your work now for a few minutes. I'll give you the bigger one. That is what I give you now. So it's about registering mark. From the flowchart, we know that it basically consists out of 2, which is the actual registering and the verifying activity. Okay. The node is A0. The title is registering marks, and it's my first drawing. Okay? The process here is register marks. It's basically a verb, register marks. And the input, as you see, we also number the input, we number the output, we number the controls, and we also number the means. The input is, well, I need to have marks before I can register them. So I1 is marks. Get in, it's input. And then later on, I don't see the difference in time here, but later on, I'll get something back which I need to sign, and that is, again, the input for this process. So I2 is, later on, a signed registered list. Right? Please think back at the flowchart. There is a procedure. Here we go with the control. I, for instance, need to, I just received a new one. I need to register the marks within 10 days. I always am able to examine, assess your writings, and register them within 10 days. If not, management steps in and knocks on my door. No, there is a basic rule. 1, the marks should be registered within 10 days. That is a control. If not, I'm getting a message from Osiris urging that I need to register within 1 day. If not, then management team gets a message also. This lecturer has not been able to, etc. I'm using the Osiris application, the same one as you do, although I have different functionalities and different rights in that program. Luckily me, luckily you, otherwise you could fill out your own marks. All right? And the outcome is a registered mark list, and it is verified marks. Right? What I don't see here is the difference between the first activity, registering the marks, and the second one, verifying those marks. That is what I don't see. Y'all, I can imagine something like that is going on inside this process, because what I see is, oh, there is a file, registered marks, and there is a mark list coming out, which I sign and which I bring back into the process once more. So there's a kind of loop going on, and there is verified marks. These are the marks you see, right? Also using this computer program. You can check it out. Perhaps you already guessed what I asked you to do within 15 minutes. Zoom in on this one. Bring in the other sub-activity, verifying marks. Using, it's an exercise, startup exercise, using the same inputs and outputs, means and stuff like that, but on different places. I'll give you this one. The node is still the same. The title is still the same, and it's your #1 version also. That's a famous Dutch expression, go your gang now. Try to draw it. Do it together. Do it alone. Because we have more important things to do than only this. Right? Here we go. Try to follow me. Like I said, this one basically consists of 2 sub-activities, actual registering and the verifying. Do you have at least been able to draw that? The 2-1? Okay. Here we go. Look at my piece of art. I'm going to explain it to you. Did you get that one? Alright, let us make a quiz out of this, right? Did you all have note A1? Did you all have this one? The title? Well, and this one, the version. You're halfway. That's great. That's great. The next step is, alright, I have to position my 2 sub-activities, or 3 or 4, along the number that exists. Here we only have 2. This is the way how you position them. I call it the waterfall. Remember that IDEF sub-activities are being drawn like a waterfall, or a stairway down into the tunnel. You go down. Alright. Did you have one input 1, being the marks in this process? Well, it should be. And this is the first, that's why I numbered it #1. This is the first activity. After this activity, this one takes place. That's why this one is 2. Sometimes also being referred as A1, A2. I don't care, as long as you number them 1, 2, A1, A2. I don't care. But there is a difference in numbering. And also by the looks of it, you see that verifying marks is taking place later than registering marks. Right? Okay. We use a computer here, or a software program, so a registering system. It's a CIDEF program. It's the same one we use here, so there's no difference. If, and I really truly hope that you understand that, if we would use a different software program for this activity, it would be M2. But since we use the same one, it has multiple functions. We said, well, this one is the same as this one. It's being used in both activities.
But why do you need a computer system just to verify the lines?
Yeah, because there are stuffed away in a file.
But isn't it a person who would sit and verify it?
Yeah, but still, you need to have the list, and you need to have to look at the list that's being entered. And you check this one, okay, this one, okay, this one, okay, this one, okay, you click, whatever. That's how it happens, right? At the top we have one control, the procedure, registering procedure. There is plenty of rules and specifications according along the employees within the department or size need to work and do their work in that way. So there's no difference between this control and that control. Let's now have a look at the relationship between this activity and this one. First of all, before we do that, make sure that you understand that one of the outputs, that is why it's called O1, output 1, is a registered marked list. In this case, it's being, as a list being put away in a file in the computer, but it's output. It is the result of registering the marks. Then, and that is a bit strange, but what happens is this one is on paper. It's a paper sheet, it's a printout, right? And I'm getting it back. As a teacher, I'm getting it back and I need to sign it. So output 1, the registered marked list, goes back to me with the request to sign it. I sign it, I'll put my signature to it, and then I'll hand it over for this activity, the second one. So what you see actually is the input 2 here is this list but being signed by me. I put my signature under it. This one is the file. So this is the printed one, this is the file. It's being put away in a database. And as such, this output is being used in this module, in this activity. And that is a weird thing that we discovered the previous lecture. They use this file coming from this process, so it's output input. What you see, it's only being addressed as output. You don't see input next to it. Although it is input, we registered it as output. You see that? Normally you would say, well, but this is also input, so shouldn't that be input 3 or something next to it? No. It was output, but at the same time we see it's coming in as input. The people employed here are looking at my signed list, checking out this one, and then they say, well, it's okay, Carl did his best, and let's put an enter to it. They press the button, and immediately the marks become verified. So that's again an output stuffed away in a file, which also you can address and look at to know what mark you see. And here we have the idea, the same idea as with flowchart. When you look at this, you immediately ask yourself the question, this is not efficient. This is not efficient. Why not? Well, again, this program, software module, is delivering a mark list and also delivering a file, but it's the same. The content is exactly the same. One is being printed, the other is being stuffed away in a digital way. But there's no difference. Then I need to sign it, like a stupid person, I sign it. I hand it over, and they are going to have a look at the list of marks which are already in the computer. They look at the list I signed, which is the outcome of the same program, and then they say, he did his best. Well, there can't be any difference between the one and the other one, because it's the result of the same program. But there's only two things happen with it. One, I send it to the printer, the other one I send to the computer file. That's it. So this is taking, in the old situation, this is taking approximately 3 days before I get it back, before I sign it. And then they have to verify it. Well, put an extra 2 days to it, and that's 5 days of useless time spending of one and the same thing. There can't be any difference between this one and this one. So this activity makes no use at all. We take it out, here we go, Camilla, we take it out, and basically we can consider the register mark list as being the one that are also valid for you to have a look at. So we take out one activity that doesn't make sense, cost saving, activity saving, time saving, action here, right? All right, again, have a look at the detailing, the result of this detailing activity we just did. Is there any question about this? Right.
Anyway, why would verify marks would be useless? You know, sometimes you're going to mistakes, so that's why you verify.
Yeah, but if that's true, but if there's going to be a mistake, the mistake is going to be made in here. John managed to score an 8, but I file it, I register it under the name of Peter. That's the mistake. It will never be improved by doing this, because the computer accepts any entry I give it. That's how. If you want to take that out, you should ask me, give it back to me, and say, listen, this is your list that you entered. Please put it next to the pile of written exams and check it out. That would make sense, right? But then it only takes a long time. And that is, my dear students, well, I emphasize the use or the making use of inspection, because you are John, I'll give you your exam, it states an 8, and you say, how can that be? Because I got a 4. I say, you got a 4. No, that should be Peter. Get that? So get to any inspection, go to any inspection you have, and check out your, only for this reason, check out your mark. Because by entering marks, we're only human. So check it out, right? Okay. Camilla, another question.
Yeah, so you said that the means and the mechanism
Yeah.
are systems, people, equipment
Yeah.
used to perform the activity. What do you mean by people? Because there's always people behind an activity.
Yeah, basically, if you would draw it down the line, you could also say hiring a consultant is an additional means to get things going in the process. Could be. But not the employee normally involved. Because they are in the process.
Doesn't that also mean that the actual activity of signing the list should also be in there?
No, that's a good question, because that happens outside this process. Right? This is only looked at from Osiris. And signing lists is something I do, not what Osiris does. Okay, getting to the way we examine this, the way we access this. Well, this is an example. It's going to be used. It's going to be used in the exam as well. You get a text. In this text, there are Well, here I have highlighted them by using the color red. But in this text, what you need to do is you need to check, this is one that we are going to use in the workshop as well. You need to check out, okay, this is one big process called the tool operating process, but what I do see reading it is that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, well in this case it's easy because they are being made red by me, but there's 4 sub-processes or activities within that bigger process. The first one is research, then purchasing, then production, and then sales. Alright, if I had to draw a flowchart or make IDEF out of this, well, already I have the 4 activities, but then the next question should be, which processes 4? I just gave them. Then, which means are being used? Check out the text. Which means? Is there something going on with a computer program or printer or software program, application, stuff like that, indicating that there's means being used. The third one is which input, output. All right, the market research starts with an assignment and delivers market data. That's input and output. I read this. All right. You can also write it down on a separate paper sheet. So it's a scratch. And then which controls? And then you bring it back into one big drawing, either flowchart or, well, I need to do this, IDEF. This is how we are going to work. All right. Which persons do I see later on in the workshop? It's actually at 2 already in 5 minutes. One staircase down, I think.